so easy to say, well, left wing's the problem, the right wing's the problem.
Right.
But if you actually look at the two of them, the tropes are kind of the same.
Right.
The right is saying that Jews are doing a white genocide, and the left is saying they're doing a genocide in Gaza. It's like the same. It's like very similar tropes.
Well, that was Sarah Hurwitz, a former speechwriter for President Obama, back at it again with another banger. But before we get into this story, earlier this week, Anna reported on Hurwitz's, her recent comments regarding American perceptions and understandings of what anti-Semitism actually is and what genocide actually is. So I just want to play that clip, the original clip for the audience to catch them up in case anyone missed Anna's reporting. So let's watch.
I think, unfortunately, the very smart, bet that we made on Holocaust education to serve as anti-Semitism education, in this new media environment, I think that is beginning to break down a little bit. Because, Holocaust education is absolutely essential, but I think it may be confusing some of our young people about anti-Semitism because they learn about big, strong Nazis hurting weak, emaciated Jews. And they think, oh, anti-Semitism is like anti-black racism, right? Powerful white people against powerless black people. So when on TikTok all day long they see powerful Israelis hurting weak, skinny Palestinians, it's not surprising that they think, oh, I know, the lesson of the Holocaust is you fight Israel. You fight the big, powerful people hurting the weak people.
All right, Cenk. Well, Hurwitz went on a podcast about a month ago, and that podcast has now resurfaced in light of her more recent remarks, the ones that we just watched. But first, let's get your 2 cents on the clip that we just saw.
Yeah, I appreciate the confession. Her description was actually excellent. That is what's happening, and that is true. Yeah, a Holocaust or a genocide is when a really powerful force like Nazi Germany, or in this case Israel, takes on people who have no power at all, which in the case of Nazi Germany was Jews, Poles, Roma, LGBTQ folks all had no power and were, destroyed by the Nazis. And now Israel is doing it to the Palestinians who have no power, and Israel's brutally slaughtering them, tens of thousands of Palestinians at a time. So that's an excellent description. But she described it as, can you believe young Jews? By the way, she was attacking young Jews. Young Jews think that we should be principled about the Holocaust. That's ridiculous. These stupid young Jews don't understand that we actually need to be totally biased in favor of Israel. And whether we're the victim or we're the aggressor and we're the strong ones like the Nazis, you should defend Israel no matter what, and shut up and don't be honest, don't be moral, don't be principled, you stupid young Jews, she says. I mean, Jesus, she's almost complimenting the Nazis. And did you notice she said, it was a smart bet we made on Holocaust education. Oh, so there was some sort of discussion about how everybody had to be educated about it. And that was a bet you guys, I don't know who you guys are, because it isn't my Jewish friends or family. So I don't know if she was part of the Obama White House, so apparently she knows some people who are pro-Israel zealots who made some sort of bet about how we need to be educated. Now the Holocaust happened, and it was terrible. It was one of, if not the single worst thing that's happened in human history. But the way that she talks about it is disgusting. And now she comes back to this episode that we're gonna talk about, where she says, oh yeah, the lunatic conspiracy theories the right wing make up and the absolute stone cold facts the left state are the same thing, because in her mind, yes, they are the same thing, because her mind doesn't distinguish between right and wrong, true or untrue, moral or immoral. It just distinguishes pro-Israel or anti-Israel. So if you're anti-Israel, whether you're right or you're wrong, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna smear you. I'm gonna educate Americans about how all of you are anti-Semites and you should bow down to my beloved Israel. And apparently that was her work in an Obama administration, was to get us to bow down to her preferred country. So maybe she should go join Mike Huckabee with Jonathan Pollard in our embassy and conspire over there. And maybe she shouldn't work for America, she should work for the country she loves, which is Israel. And maybe she should get the hell out of our country and go to the country that she is obviously way more loyal to. And yes, Sarah, oh, is that a dual loyalty trope? Anti-Semite, anti-Semite. No, I'm not saying it, you're saying it. You're saying how much more important Israel is and how we all, including young Jewish Americans, must bow down to Israel even if they're doing a genocide. So you're kind of a sick person, so let's share more of her sickness here.
Yeah, she does have a very heavy victim lean when she speaks, and that is putting it very lightly. And you'll see what I mean if you don't already get it from the few clips that I've already showed you. So Hurwitz said what she said, and back in October, she made an appearance on the Being Jewish podcast with host Jonah Platt, where she discussed her book called As a Jew, Reclaiming Our Story from Those Who Blame, Shame, and Try to Erase Us. That is the title of her book. So her appearance on the podcast is resurfacing now as she has been catching a ton of backlash over that viral clip. Notably, during the podcast, Hurwitz tried to make the argument that both the left and the right are accusing the Jews of committing genocide, but really it's all just, you guessed it, anti-Semitism. Let's watch.
Christians are Christianizing the Roman Empire. Who's stopping us? Those Jews who won't convert. We, the communists, are bringing about the great brotherhood of man and the revolution. And who's stopping us? These capitalist Jews. We, the Germans, are bringing about the great Aryan, racially pure fatherland. Who's stopping us? Race-polluting Jews. Today in America, you see it on the right and the left. On the right, it is we, white Christian Americans, are bringing back white Christian civilization. The only thing stopping us, these Jews who are importing black and brown immigrants to replace white people. That is the bonkers great replacement conspiracy, which I'm like, is it more racist or more anti-Semitic? I don't know. I think it's kind of equal. And then on the left, you have, we, the great moral majority, are doing anti-racism and anti-colonialism. And the only thing stopping us are these racist colonialist Zionists, AKA Jews.
Right.
So after that, she brings home her both sides argument.
And, Dara Horn, who's brilliant, and I quote all the time, she says, if you think there are sides here, you don't understand what's happening. It's the same thing on both sides. It just takes on slightly different, language and form. It's so easy to say, well, left wing's the problem, the right wing's the problem. Right. But if you actually look at the two of them, the tropes are kind of the same.
Right.
The right is saying that Jews are doing a white genocide, and the left is saying they're doing a genocide in Gaza. It's like the same, it's like very similar tropes.
It is not the same. The comparison that this very educated, successful person is trying to make is dumb as hell, right? The most obvious problem with the point that she's trying to convince us all of is that there is no actual white genocide taking place in the United States, but there is a real life, not fake, recognized by international watchdog and humanitarian groups, genocide, capital G genocide, being done in Gaza against the Palestinians by the Israeli Jews. Genocide, as in people are intentionally and mercilessly being killed by a colonial force seeking to take over their land and property. It could not be more literal. It is the definition of genocide. And before I toss it over to you, Cenk, I just want to give a little bit more context. I want to mention that the podcast episode was about an hour long, and I do want to get your thoughts on something she said. She made a point that she discusses further in her book that Israel is often held up as some magical place, held up to some higher godly standard, when really it's just a country like any other country. It has a history. It may have had a shaky or immoral founding like so many other countries, just like ours, you could say. There are plenty of Israelis who don't like or support the Netanyahu government, just like there are many Americans who don't like or support the Trump administration. She also claims to be a Zionist in the sense that she thinks Jews should have a land to feel safe and call their own. But she also thinks that, the Japanese people have that. And she also thinks that the Palestinian people should have that. Of course, she is saying all of this while also believing that seemingly any criticism of Jews or Zionists or Israel is anti-Semitic, and that it's possible for the Jewish people to be it's impossible for the people of Israel to be credibly accused of committing genocide. So I don't understand really what she thinks is happening in Gaza right now. I know that Israelis who support the IDF's actions in Gaza believe that Israel is being threatened by the Palestinians. I know that they believe it's their land. I know the arguments that they make. I know that you and John also discussed Jonathan Pollard in the first hour, and he has a very extreme position on Israel and Gaza, more extreme than the most avid, outspoken Zionists even. But that guy sucks, and people recognize that he sucks, right? He was mad that the Israeli hostages were released because it shifted focus away from the takeover of Gaza. That's how much this guy is terrible. But something like this coming from someone who was once celebrated as being a strong liberal voice in democratic American politics is perhaps a little bit more troubling than someone like Pollard, because she's less obviously a villain or anybody who is, I don't think that she thinks of herself as a bad person. Like she's not out there trying to demonize people, but effectively she is, but I don't think that's her intention.
No,
I think this shows that.
I actually disagree. Yeah. No, I think she's a terrible person. And I think that she tries to smear anyone against Israel on purpose. I don't like, maybe she is that dumb. Okay, so let's break down how dumb she is. Or she's playing dumb just to be able to smear anyone who's legitimately criticizing her beloved Israel. So the Turks are accused of ethnically cleansing Vietnam and trying to replace them with Mexicans. And so that is a genocidal claim against Turks that is absurd. And they're also accused of committing a genocide against Armenians. So you see how they're both a trope and they're both ridiculous and totally untrue. Oh wait, I made one of them up and it's not true at all, but the other one is true. Just saying, oh yeah, Jews bringing in black and brown people to commit a white genocide is lunatic. Like the crazy Vietnamese Mexico thing that I came up with. It's not attached to reality at all. There's no evidence for it. It's crazy, right? On the other hand, every genocide scholar says, of course it's a genocide. Of course it is. 86% of them, all non-Israel supporting genocide scholars, every human rights group, the journalists, the United Nations, the entire world agrees it's a genocide in Gaza. At least 70,000 dead, 20,000 kids. But for people like Sarah Hurwitz, they think, yeah, but they're just Palestinians. So their lives are worthless. They're just stupid Muslims and Arabs. And my beloved Israel can slaughter them all day long. That's a fact that they've slaughtered them. But I think it's justified that we murdered 20,000 of their kids. And I'm gonna compare that to a fantasy that doesn't even exist. Why? Because I want to smear the legitimate criticism of Israel and critics of Israel with the illegitimate ones. And the number one go-to thing that they all do is anti-Semite trope, right? So we're sick of it, Sarah. It's not gonna work. You're the racist. You're the bigot who thinks murdering Muslims is no big deal and that Israel hasn't slaughtered enough of them yet. Okay? And then you smear the people that are trying to end a genocide in our time by saying, no, they're all terrible, immoral, anti-Semites. If they didn't hate Jews, they would know that Jews are allowed to murder all these people, but don't say Jews because Jews didn't do it. Israel did it. Israel is a government. It's not a religion. It doesn't represent all Jewish people, unlike Sarah Hurwitz, who loves the genocide apparently, and is like, no, you have to say the Jews did it. No, Sarah, we're not gonna say the Jews did it. Israel did it. That is a country, that is a government, that is different. I know you wanna smear everyone, and then after you smear them, hide behind it. Hide behind the Jewish people, okay? Use them as human shields. Oh, you're attacking the Jews. No, we're not. We're attacking a foreign government in the middle of a genocide, you monster. But you want to protect them, and now you're fantasizing about, oh, there's just like the strong Nazis. Oh, okay, now we're gonna have to reverse the education and tell everyone that genocides are good, otherwise you're an anti-Semite, okay? I'm sick of you, I'm sick of people like you. And people like you is not Jewish people. Notice again in the first clip, she's yelling at younger Jews because younger Jews are on our side. Why? Because that's actually, in my opinion, that's actual Jewish culture. Yes, that is the lesson we learned from the Holocaust. You fight for the powerless, you fight for victims. And in my experience, Jewish Americans are terrific at that, the best at that. They were here during the civil rights movement on the right side. They've always been fighting. They question authority, question the rabbi. But no, Sarah didn't learn any of that. All she learned was be militant for Israel, destroy all of Israel's enemies, then go work for Israel. Oh, dual loyalty. No, you obviously have dual loyalty. And look, dual loyalty, they invented all these tropes. What I mean by that is not that Jewish people did not suffer throughout history, they did. But are some new Polish immigrants, do they love Poland because they just came from there and they grew up there? Same for Turks, same for every ethnicity, right? Yeah, so they have a little bit of dual loyalty. Yeah, they do. Okay, it depends on what they do with that dual loyalty. Like, they do something nefarious with it, or they just, hey, they love Poland, they love America, it's okay, right? That's for everyone else. But if you say it about Israel, they're like, no. It's now a magical thing we call a trope, and it means that your life should be absolutely pulverized. You should never work again in government, in media, or anywhere else because you did a dual loyalty. If you do it to a Polish guy, you do it to a Turkish guy, a Greek guy, no one cares. It's normal, it makes sense. If a Greek guy betrays us and actually then sells our secrets to Greece or whatever he does, or says, you have to give $300 billion to Greece, you have to allow Greece to do a genocide and you have to pay for it. We'd be like, well, it seems like dual loyalty, and nobody would call that a trope. But if you do it for people who are supporting Israel, nope, that's it. We'll ruin his life, ruin his life. Get an education camp in here right away and ruin that anti-Semite's life. He doesn't even want us to murder Muslim children. That's who I think you are, Sarah Hurwitz. I think you're a disgusting, immoral person, and you're shada to the goyim. You embarrass other Jews with your deep immorality. Okay, that's what I think about you. Do not hide behind other Jews to defend your deep, disgusting immorality. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.